Hello and welcome to another Xterra video where I work on my truck. Sometimes I'm successful, sometimes I'm not. So on today's video, as you can see, I have a lot of cardboard over here already cut up. I already went through a couple of designs and this is what I come up with. It's gonna be something like this. I may do some adjustments, maybe not, but I think this is gonna, I mean, it might not be perfect, but it's gonna work. So this is gonna be something like that, wrap around, and I still have to figure out how I'm gonna secure it, but I guess we'll get to that when we get to that. Still, this is gonna be way better to have this kind of protection than not to have anything there at all. So as you can see, I have some marks over here, the width and the lengths and the bends. Hopefully that's gonna work out, so now I can start cutting this from the metal plate and yeah, start bending it and welding it. So I mark up the rough outline of the skid plate. I'm gonna cut it from the 316 metal plate that I use for all the skid plates. I think that should be more than enough. I should be more than enough. So now I'm just gonna trace it all, cut it, then I can work on the edges, just make it nicer and start making my marks for the bends and start pre-cutting the bends, and then I can make the bends. Alright guys, so the main plate is cut, and as you can see I made all my marks and the measurements. This is gonna be 9 inches, over here is gonna be 6 inches, and then spaced out 5 inches, and then 2.5 over here and 3 inches over here. So I need to cut these lines. That's gonna be easier for me to bend it, and then I'm gonna weld all of those cuts. So these two lines I'm gonna cut inside, and these two lines I'm gonna cut it on the other side. As you can see, this has a bigger cutout than over here, otherwise it's gonna interfere with my gas tank skid plate, so I had to cut this more. But other than that, I think it looks pretty good. So now I'm just gonna start cutting it. Alright guys, so both sides are pre-cut. Hopefully it's gonna be deep enough for me to make the bends, but if not, of course, as always, just gonna have to cut it more. So now I'm gonna work on trying to bend this. Not really sure how I'm gonna make this happen, but we'll see. So once again, with the help of this leverage and pre-cuts, just by hand bending these. Maybe it's not the most efficient way, but it's working so far. I already got one side bent. I'm gonna check how much degree I need to have over here, maybe more, and yeah. Okay guys, this is beginning to look like something like a skid plate. So all the bends are done. These bends are about 48 degrees. I mean, it might not come out as perfect or something like anything else I do, but hopefully it's still gonna be better than nothing. So now I'm gonna go try it underneath the diff one more time. I tried already multiple times to adjust the bends over here, and it's not too bad. Could be better, but it's not too bad. So basically it's gonna be something like that, and I mean, what else do you want? As long as the diff is protected, that's all that matters. So now I can start working and welding in all the cuts. So now slowly gonna take my time, weld everything. Just gotta make sure it doesn't bend because of from the welding. Gotta make sure I don't lose the right angles over here what I made, but other than that, it all should be good. So now I'm gonna try to work and figure out how exactly I'm gonna mount this over there. I have one of these plates from rear axle, so what I'm actually thinking, maybe I'm gonna cut this in half and I'm gonna use it on two sides over here. I also like that it has a groove over here, so hopefully it's gonna keep it more secured. And I picked up a bunch of hardware. I don't know which one I'm gonna use, which I'm gonna return. Now the one over here, this is gonna be a little bit tricky because the axle is not actually straight. So this actually was supposed to be slightly more shifted to one side, but hopefully I still have enough space over here to secure this. So I have these 5-inch grade 8 bolts, 1/4 inch. So I'm thinking to weld them in here like that, and that's gonna wrap around the front of the axle. So let's see. Okay, so far what seems to be, if I place my brackets like that, so I can make the holes over here, that should work fine on both sides. But something like this over here, I need to cut all of this off because it's gonna interfere with my gas tank, which is not a big deal. Just gonna have to cut this. This should still work as a skid plate just fine. Should still give me enough protection under it, because over here it's nothing there anyways. The differential is mostly over here anyways, and actually over here I might add a little lip, maybe not, we'll see. So now I'm gonna make these holes, cut this out, and I'm gonna try it again, see if it fits. Okay guys, so here's my initial look at the skid plate. These brackets, they fit pretty good. Over here the brake line, I had to take this off a little bit and put a tape so it doesn't really touch it, but I might do something about this brake line later. Don't really like how it goes in front of the diff cover. Why don't they make it on top? So I might have to redo this. This is protected, but like I said, I might add a little bit of a lip over here, maybe not. So this is bolted on both sides over here, and this is how it looks over here. I'm gonna check this. I'm gonna flex, I'm gonna jack up the axle on one side to make sure that this is not gonna interfere. If I have to, I'll cut this more, but this is pretty good. I think it's coming out not too bad. So even with that secured over there and over there, this is already solid. It's not going anywhere. So I might add something over here to secure it to this part. I may not, we'll see. But yeah, I'm pretty happy how it's coming out. Actually, I'm pretty happy. So now for the front of the skid plate, I'm planning to use these 3/8 6-inch grade 8 bolts, and I'm planning to weld them. One will have to be something like that, so I'll have to fill all of that up, and the other one has to be over there. But also I gotta make sure I weld them straight while keeping the skid plate at the angle, because it's at the angle over there. So this has to be something like that. Okay guys, the skid plate is pretty much done. I cleaned it up, some welds over here. Some of them came out better than the other ones, but I think it's still gonna hold. I think made a hole over here for rear diff to drain the rear differential in case I need it, so I don't have to disassemble the whole thing. So I'm just gonna clean it up. And over here the bolts are all welded as well. I think it came out pretty good. Maybe not pretty good, but I'm happy. And actually for this part, I'm gonna reuse the middle part that I cut out. This is 1/4 inch thick. That's more than enough to hold it there in place. So I think this is all gonna be good. So now I'm just gonna clean it a little bit more, and time to paint it. Alright guys, plate is done, it's all painted. I think it came out right. So I have all my mounting brackets over here, I have all my hardware over here, the bolts are in place and everything. So now I can go and mount it in place, and let's see how that's gonna look. Okay guys, the skid plate is mounted, so let me show you how it looks. So it's mounted with 2 brackets over here and over here. This new lip that I made, I feel like it's good, so it's gonna be protecting the skid. This part over here, it's gonna be sliding over. So the camera, I just had to point it down a little bit, just fix the angle over there a little bit. Everything keeps saying a little bit. May reconfigure this later, but not now. So over here I have my drain valve. That's how the bracket looks at the front. Now unfortunately those bolts in the end, they came out too long, and the threads on them are not long enough, so I had to put those spacers. I know it doesn't look the best, but it is what it is. But at least I have some kind of protection now here, so I can be more confident going off-road. So I have the whole underneath is protected. So I mean, this skid plate is only good for this axle if I ever or whenever I get the M226. I'll have to either reconfigure this one or make a new one, because the rad axle is bigger, so I doubt it's gonna fit there. Maybe not, I don't know, we'll see. So maybe at that time I even cut those bolts and I re-weld it. but then again that bracket over there, the front, is not gonna fit there because there is like a rib going across, so I'll have to use something else, but we'll see again. But overall, I'm happy with the project, how it came out. Alright guys, and as you can see, I'm making another skid plate. Now it's for my new rear differential for M226. I actually made already quite a few of these for my friends. So my friends, they really like the skid plate I made for the rear differential. So 3 of them asked me if I can make them some. So that's where I'm working now. This one is almost done. I'm just gonna have to cut this portion over here for the gas tank, so whenever the axle flexes, it's not gonna interfere. But these ones, I already pre-made them with the appropriate cutout over here. So now I just have to bend them more and start welding them through. This one is already welded and bent, so I just have to measure where I have to weld the bolts over here. And yeah, I kind of got a little bit better at making them, so now I'm making it for myself, cutting the metal again, grinding, making all the cuts. Over here I might have to cut more so it doesn't interfere with the gas tank skid plate, but other than that, that should be right. And since I made a mistake of ordering wrong top brackets, these ones are from Nissan Titan XD, which are bigger, but they still gonna work fine for my top bracket for a skid plate. So I cut it, painted, and they came with these big U-bolts, so I'm actually thinking to use them for the front. We'll see. They might be too long though, and the threads, as you can see, they don't go all the way, but we'll see. Maybe I'll make something happen. And alright guys, this is my another version of a skid plate I made. This is for myself. The first one I did for my truck, for my rear axle, but now since I have a M226, it's slightly different, slightly bigger, so this is a new version as well. Now for my friends, I made it with a double U-bolt on each side over here. I'm gonna try to get some pictures. I actually didn't take any pictures when I was installing them, but I'm gonna try to post some pictures. And I had 2 studs over here, but for this one I'm trying a different way. Since I ordered wrong Nissan Titan back top plates and I couldn't return them anymore, so I decided to give it a try for my truck. So I'm gonna use those, and the U-bolts from that kit as well. Actually, I cut it in half and I welded in here with a nut going all the way back down. And I'm gonna use this 1/4-inch steel plate that's gonna go on top like that. As you can see, I cut a hole at the angle and then I welded on each side so it sits right against the differential. So basically it's gonna be actually 2 washers and a washer on top, and that's gonna get tight. So that's basically only just to prevent so a skid accidentally doesn't go down, which more likely it will never go down, hopefully. And then this is gonna get just secured with M12 grade 8.8 bolts with the washers and the lug washers. Now just gonna go and put it in place and let's see if it fits. Alright, the skid plate is installed, but this looks solid. And on top over here it's overlapping with this one bar across, so it should not slide down or anything, but I think it came out alright. But only the test will show.
2,000 years later.
So it's actually been some times, guys, since I did my rear differential skid plate, and this top portion over here, this top bracket, I'm modifying it because what happened, I guess it got cut up on a rock and this somehow moved forward. So prevent that in the future, I'm adding this piece over here, which is gonna wrap around the axle, and this part is gonna be welded to it, so that way it's definitely not gonna move, hopefully. So yeah, so this is what I made, guys. It's gonna be a bracket like that. It's all welded all the way around. That's probably even overkill. Probably a few touches will be more than enough, but that should be much better. It's gonna wrap around the differential and should hold it better. All right, so now it should be much better. Of course, I'm gonna test it over time to see if I need this to be adjusted again or something modified here, but like that I think it's not gonna go anywhere now. Hopefully. So now I'm just gonna paint it and bolt it back up. Alright guys, another project successfully done. At least I think it's successfully done. So now I have some kind of protection on my rear diff. I know I may have to modify it a little bit more over time, but at least I have something there. Now, like I said, it's probably not gonna fit the M226 differential because that one is bigger. So I either gonna have to make a new one eventually or modify this one whenever I get a different diff, which I'm working on, but we'll see. And now at the end of the day, actually, after all the hours I put into it, all the material, measurements, and all the time I spent making it, if you sit and think buying, I already made one for approximately $200, it's not so bad after all. I mean, in my case, it was for me a fun experience, and I had tools, I had a welder already, I had a metal plate left over, so it was a fun project. But in your case, guys, it may be easier just to buy it, and it's gonna work just as well. But anyways, I'm very happy with the result. It's mounted and it's not gonna go anywhere. At least I don't think it's gonna go anywhere. You'll need to hit it with a lot of force to get it out of the way, which I'm not planning to do. I may hit some rocks, but with not enough force to break it. So on this note, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you might find it helpful, and as always, until next time, everybody, bye.